My name is Joe Prim, and I am the host of Prepare.Defend.Lead. In this episode, we are going to be talking about making lasting changes in your life. If that sounds interesting, stick around, and I'll catch you on the other side of the intro.
The comfort and distractions of today collide to indulge our desires and provide a slow death by apathy. A superior primitive ethos exists. Prepare for tomorrow. Defend what you value and lead those you love. This mindset is the foundation of living an authentic life as a bold, disciplined man resolute in your mission. Prepare, defend, lead. Your mission. Own it.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of PDL. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to join you on your commute or join you during your work around the yard on a Saturday afternoon. Whatever you are doing, thanks for taking me along for the ride. I do appreciate this opportunity. In this episode, I want to talk about change and making lasting change in your life. But first, this weekend here, I had the opportunity to take my family to go out to Cigars and Sermons and meet Colonel Allen West. Allen West has a long resume, and if you watch any news programs, you've probably seen him pop up many times. But he is running for governor here in the great state of Texas. And not that long ago, this would have been the type of event that I would have never gone near. But as we will talk about in this episode today, it has become very evident to me that I needed to make a change in that area of my life. What I see going on around me, what I see as far as our country, our states, our nation, our world is very different than it was not that long ago. And either I can sit back and I can whine and I can complain and come on a podcast and tell people how bad it is and how bad things are going to be and how stupid some politicians are and how great other politicians are. But I have taken it upon myself, rather than speak on things that way, to make the changes in my life that I can make, because I can control me. I can't control anybody else. I can control myself. But in part of that change has been that I have needed to further the way that I come out of my shell, because I'm an introvert. I hate gathering in groups of people. To be honest with you, it does absolutely nothing for me. But I believe enough in the mission of PDL to challenge and encourage men to prepare, defend, and lead, that I will get out of my comfort zone and I will share what's on my mind and what's on my heart in any opportunity that's given to me. And I see things changing, and I see things changing for the worse, and I will not sit back idly and watch things fall apart on my watch. So it may not seem like much to you to show up to something like that. But for me to get out of my comfort zone and once again show face someplace, rub elbows with different type of people, get to know and have conversations with people that I otherwise wouldn't hold conversations with, hear concerns, hear what's going on in other people's lives, so that I don't just become an echo chamber. I take this mission seriously. I've invested thousands and thousands of dollars into this mission. I've invested hours and hours of my time. My wife and children have made countless sacrifices in order for me to push this mission forward. because I believe in it with everything I have and everything that I am. I am committed wholeheartedly to the mission here at PDL. And because of that, just like last night, I'm making changes and taking advantage of opportunities that come my way in order to get this message out to anybody and everybody that will listen. And to put myself in a position to shake hands with, to meet new people, and to hold conversations with people that I normally wouldn't have the opportunity to have conversations with. Once again, I challenge you to do the same. You have your own unique set of talents and gifts and ideas and creative avenues that you can use. Do not waste your time. Your most precious thing that you have, that you hold on to, is your time. You have no less of it and no more of it than anybody else on this planet. Use your time wisely to push a good agenda forward. Do your best to help others make the changes that they need to make in their life, while you yourself are making the changes that you need to make in your life. Time will slow down for no one. Take advantage of the time that we have remaining. My vision here with PDL is to grow a group of men that can trust one another, that know where the other stands, that are willing to make sacrifices, that are willing to help, that are willing to encourage and challenge not only their families, but their communities and their congregations, that are willing to get into the arena and risk getting hurt, risk being embarrassed, risk failing time and time again because they have something bigger than themselves that they believe in. Because they have something bigger than themselves that they believe in. I remember years ago, and this just popped in my head, so forgive me, otherwise I probably would have looked up for a little bit more. And they were asking this NFL football player why he was always in the gym. Why he was always in the gym and was so urgent in all that he was doing in his workout regime and his diet and his workouts, daily tremendous workouts. And his response was something simply like, because this is what the enemy's doing. This is what the opponent is doing. I'm obligated to be better, to work harder, to put in more effort, to put in more time in order to compete and win. That is where we are at. What is your commitment level? What are you willing to sacrifice? Get in the game. So let's jump into this idea of making lasting change in your life. Because the problem is, you are not happy with the man in the mirror for reasons. Maybe it's many reasons for you, maybe it's a couple reasons, but there are always things that we know, if we are honestly evaluating ourselves, that we need to change in our lives. And yet, no matter how much you want to make that change, no matter how much you think that you would be better off if you made some changes that don't even seem that big sometimes, or just subtle changes, we fail. And we fail. there's nothing wrong with failing. The problem with failing is when we don't get back up and try again. The problem isn't with failing. The problem is with quitting. Because quitting becomes a habit. And once quitting becomes a habit, it becomes easier and easier and easier. And that's what the gyms count on, right? Everybody signs up for their 1-year membership at the end of December and the beginning of January. And then come March, the gym is a ghost town. Why? People do that year after year. They create a habit of quitting. So I have some ideas written down here, some steps that I believe will make it much easier in order for you to make the changes and make them lasting changes in your life. Because the reality is, if we're going to waste any time or effort or energies into making a change in our life, we must really believe in it. And if we really believe in it, then we must really truly believe that it's worth the time, energy, and efforts and money that we're going to put into it. So if it truly is, then let's be truly committed to making that shift, to making that change, however subtle that change might be. The first step is to identify the issue. And sometimes on the surface level, the issue looks like one thing, when in reality, if we're honest with ourselves, maybe something completely different. Take a little bit of time to iron out what the issue truly is, what it is that you need to change in yourself. What is the problem? I'm going to go through these in order to illustrate what I'm saying with these steps. I'm going to use an example in my own life that I'm actually going through right now in order to show what I'm talking about. So, number one step, identify the issue. For me, I've been having an issue probably the last few months of not having enough energy. I had enough energy to do the things that I need to do each day, but not enough energy to do the things that I want to do to push PDL forward. Now, different people are going to have different energy levels. Different people are going to need different amounts of sleep each night. But this was what I identified as my issue, because I know myself and I know how I have been at different times in my life. And I knew that recently the lack of energy was a big issue in holding me back from where I need to go. So number one, I identified the issue. Number two, need to find a solution. My quick solution, what I turned to right away, was picking up an energy drink on my way home from work. And that may have worked for a week, maybe even a week and a half, 2 weeks, gave me a little bit of boost when I got home in order to do some of the things that I needed to do. But the reality is, it didn't last. And the reality is, it's not sustainable. It's not the right way to fix the problem. It was a little fix. I thought maybe it'd get me through a short patch where I was low on energy for some reason. Still trying to settle in with the move. Still trying to settle in on some different things. But it wasn't a long-term fix. And in the end, didn't help me much at all. So I needed a long-term solution. I needed something that was going to help me move forward. So I happened to come across a book on Audible, was the deal of the day, and it was called The Energy Paradox. So I listened to The Energy Paradox, listened to all of the medical stuff in the first 2/3 of the book that was really, really boring, but necessary to understand why I would need to make the changes in my diet and in my life that I would need to make if I wanted to help heal myself. because what the point of the book is getting to how important your gut biome is. Different foods that you eat do not sustain or support your gut. And when you have inflammation inside of you, your energy goes to healing and to sustaining those parts of your body to keep them functioning, and zaps your energy in other areas. Sounded logical to me. I know my diet has slipped. I'm getting into my 40s here. Time to make some shifts. Time to take on a new challenge and look at things a little differently. So I identified the problem, lack of energy. I found a solution, changing my diet and following the diet. Now, I believe the very important part that a lot of people are going to skip by, a lot of people are going to miss, is at this point, making a plan. I believe for the most part it is unrealistic to think that you are just going to start on Monday and everything's going to change. Or because starting on Monday changes to, well, I'll start tomorrow. And then, well, I'll start Wednesday. And then, you know what? I'll start next Monday. Right? And it keeps getting pushed down the road. Or we do Monday and it kicks our butt, or we get Monday and Tuesday, maybe even to Wednesday, and it's like, screw this. I've got to do something different, or we give up and we quit. We slide back into a bad pattern. So I think that it is important to make a plan and actually commit to that plan. I think it's really important that when we work on coming up with a plan for the things that we need to change, and this does not need to be writing a novel, does not need to be all written out in a book, it just needs to be in your head. And for some changes you're going to make in your life, it's going to be a 5-minute process. Other times, it might be writing some things out so you can return back to those notes and look and go over them and see where you started and why you failed and how you're going to restart again. Maybe that's where you need to be. Maybe that's who you are. For some people, it's all in your head. That's fine. But you need to have a plan if you want to succeed. Your plan has got to be realistic. It's got to be a plan that's sustainable for you. If you live a certain lifestyle, or you love a certain food, or whatever it might be, you need to make this a diet, like for me, or it might be a date night for you to build a relationship with your wife, or it could be going on walks with your kids and you commit to doing it every single day, and now you have 3 days in 1 week where it rains, and now what are we going to do? Are we going to go for a walk in the rain, or are we going to continue to skip and get out of the habit, right? Plan these things out. Think these things out. Your plan must be sustainable. And I don't believe that you need to take giant steps. Take small steps. All growth in nature takes time, but it grows consistently till the end. Can you imagine being a baby who over a week or over a day became a toddler, became an adolescent, became an adult? Unfathomable, right? But day by day, growth happens. Learning happens. And unless you've advanced yourself to the point where you can do certain things, forcing yourself, it's like playing a video game, right? Your character cannot play level 30 when you first start the game. You need to advance through the levels, and you unlock new weapons, you unlock new skills, you learn different things in the game, new moves, right? And then when you get to level 30, you can fight the boss on level 30 and win, because you have all the tools that you need, because you step by step grew your character into who it needed to be in order to crush that challenge or that change that you wanted in your life. These are long-term commitments. So get specific in your plan. For me, with my diet, I knew I needed to come up with a very easy, simple diet plan that worked for me. I'm on the go a lot during the day for work. That worked for me, that was easy. I'm a boring person. I can basically eat the same thing every day without complaining. So simple was more important to me than taste. So I took some time. I went over the list of things that were recommended for the diet. I have an understanding that these are the foods that are preferred. These are the foods that you should eat. These are certain foods that you should not eat. And the other part of the diet was you need to continue to shrink your eating window, the time during a day that you eat, to make it easier on your digestive system, that you have more time for your body to digest the food that you eat. So I needed to come up with a plan for that. So I go through this list and I pick out the foods that I like that are on the list, the foods that are easy to prepare, the foods that are easy to eat on the go. Went on Amazon, purchased those. My first week, I basically ate correctly on the diet every single day. Not exactly always on the window. Probably stretch things a little bit in certain areas as I'm trying to adapt and make this new diet work for me. But I gave myself the room to grow during the first week, to see what was going to work, to test things out, to see what I liked, what I didn't like, what would work and what wouldn't work. Give yourself some freedom. You don't need to make 100% changes tomorrow. Begin to make the changes and go down the path towards who you want to be, to the changes that you want to make. So this next week, I will clamp down a little tighter. I will start to shrink up the window. But this weekend, I allowed myself to eat outside of the diet. But you know what funny thing is on a diet especially, and it will work the same in other ways in your life, is the more your body starts to do things, starts to eat healthy food, starts to eat a certain type of food, the less it likes the food that you used to eat. So I allowed myself to have a burger with a bun and everything last night for dinner. Normally something that I absolutely love at a restaurant that I think has some great food. And you know what? Afterwards, it didn't really sit well with me. My body didn't like it as much as it had liked the healthy food that I had earlier in the week. Now, next time I have the opportunity to get a burger, am I going to, or am I likely to choose something else? I'm probably a little bit more likely to choose something else, even if it's only 20% more likely next weekend. What about the weekend after that, when I've tightened down and have a better grip on the diet and my body is starting to run and fuel itself and have the energy it needs? Now, all of a sudden, maybe that following weekend, you're 40% less likely to choose that burger. Or at least maybe take the bun off. Maybe skip the fries. Maybe have a side salad instead. Right? So we begin to change as we begin to identify and we begin to buy into wholeheartedly this new paradigm as we begin to change. And as you grasp onto that, whether it's going to the gym and your body starts to enjoy the release of endorphins and you start to realize how much better your emotions are and how much less likely you are to get angry and how it's starting to give you some more energy. Or maybe it's going on date night and you realize that just spending that little bit of extra time with your wife, or maybe you get into a deep conversation and exposes some things that have never been talked about or never been thought about before by you, and you realize, wow, this is huge. I can't wait till the next time we get to go out. And then the next time, it's a little closer. You have another type of conversation, maybe about something completely different. Maybe it just continues and you realize, wow, I have been missing this. This is so important to me. Maybe it's going on the walk with your kid and you hear some stories of things because you're finally listening. Tuning out other things. Your phone's not in your hand. Your wife's not talking to you in the background, and it's just you and your son or you and your daughter, and now you're actually listening to what they're saying. And they've been trying to tell you something for the last 6 months, but you haven't listened. You were just hearing what they had to say. Now all of a sudden that next walk, maybe it's a little easier to get up for. Maybe that next walk after that is a little bit more enjoyable. As they're asking for advice and they're looking to learn and they're looking to understand who you are and where you came from and what your childhood was. Change and evolving as a human is important. It should not be taken lightly. If you are dissatisfied with the guy in the mirror, that's not a problem. You are standing alongside the majority of us. There will always be things that we can change, always be things that we can tighten up, always be ways that we can get better. But how exciting and how great is that we can continue to evolve and we can continue to change and we can continue to become better. That we can fail and we can get back up and we can try again. That we can fail and we can get back up and that we can learn from that failure and continue forward. There are things in our life like our health and our relationships and our faith that we should be willing to sacrifice whatever time, whatever effort, whatever energies, whatever embarrassment in order to move forward in the direction that we want to go there, to continue to grow deeper and deeper. So to review, number one, identify what the issue is. Be honest with yourself. Really look at the problem and find out what it is. You're going to invest time and energy and efforts into it. Make sure you've correctly identified the issue. So identify the issue. Find a solution. You may need to go outside of the box. You may need to get out of your comfort zone. You may need to do some investigating. You may need to watch some YouTube videos or read some books or dig deep or have some conversations with some people in order to find a solution, to investigate and find that solution. Number two, make a realistic plan. It's got to be realistic. It's got to be sustainable. So make that plan. Then commit to that plan. And then move forward. And in my notes, I have a note here that says, discipline plus adversity equals confidence. Discipline plus adversity equals confidence. Sometimes you don't have real adversity in your life and you got to make the adversity. It's all right. Be disciplined once you have that plan set. That plan isn't, the reason we make that plan and we don't just kind of willy-nilly jump into this is because you can't be disciplined that way. If you have a plan, no matter how lenient it goes, right? Kind of some of those couch to 5K apps where you run a short distance and then you rest and they are slowly building you up to a place where you can run a 5K. When you design your plan, that is how it's supposed to be set up. Step by step. You don't have to be super methodical, but know where you're going so that you know how disciplined you're going to need to be and then be disciplined in that area. As I wrap this up, I want to remind you that nobody is coming to save you. Where you are today is a result of your beliefs and the decisions that you have made based on those beliefs. My objective here with PDL is to equip you to uncover the hero within. The hero that's been buried by years of lies and fear and trying to live up to the expectations of others. As we talk about change in this episode, sometimes this little 3-step or 4-step idea is just not enough. And that's where the Heroes Wanted coaching program comes in, why I started it, in order to help men who need some more one-on-one personal help to get things sorted out in their lives. I truly believe that there is a hero buried beneath the rubble of so many of our lives. It's there, and it wants to come out. It's still breathing, the heart is still faintly beating, and it wants to come back to life. But there is effort and work involved in making that happen. And if you don't think that you can do that by yourself, go to Prepare.Defend.Lead.com. You can set up an appointment, fill out a little application, and let's have a conversation about what Heroes Wanted can do for you. If that's not what you're looking for at this moment, you can always listen to Prepare.Defend.Lead, this podcast. Most of my thoughts and ideas come out right here. But I would appreciate it if you would take some time, if this podcast is doing anything for you, if you enjoy it, if you're learning from it, take some time to share it and review it. Those two things are the fuel that keeps this podcast going forward. They're fuel that keeps this machine on the track and moving in the direction we want it to go. If you've listened to the podcast, if you've listened to every episode and you're hungry for more, go check out my book. It's on the 6 principles that will change my life and I believe will change yours. They're easy to understand and implement in your life, but they will take the rest of your life to master. You can go to Amazon and find the book. It's called Open, 6 Life-Changing Principles. You can find it there. If you've read it, leave me a review, an honest review. I would really appreciate that. Again, that might be the difference between somebody purchasing the book and it helping change their life versus them passing on by. And as I mentioned earlier, the coaching program, if you need a personal time, one-on-one coaching where we go through the 6 principles, it's a 12-week program. It'll be catered personally to you and where you are in your life, what your mission is, what your objectives are. We have 12 weeks to go through these 6 principles, so obviously there's some time to sidetrack and dig deeper into some. As always, we are living in an ever-changing world. Day by day, things are different from what we could have ever imagined or expected. Our brothers and sisters out there are losing their jobs because they're choosing to take a stand against tyranny. We have brothers and sisters that have been abandoned in Afghanistan. That we've got people locked in and trapped in their homes in Australia. Up in Canada, we have pastors being arrested for keeping their churches open, even though the strip clubs and liquor stores have been open this whole time. Things are not going in the direction that we want them to go, and the only way things are going to change is if we stand up, get loud, and make a difference. As always, hold fast. God bless.